So here I am driving to the cemetery, which you will be able to see on the right in just one moment. This is the cemetery right here, and this is where Byard is, and Caleb Bradham. It's got this awesome wall. This is the newer part, not that it's really new, it's still a couple of 100 years old, but I'm coming up now to the Weeping Arch. And this is one of the scenes in the script right there, the Weeping Arch. And that's the entrance to the cemetery. This is a beautiful coral stone wall. I'm gonna take a right here. Now right near that blue tarp that you see right there is kind of what Byard's headstone is. So I'm going to drive on down right to this next entrance and give Caleb Bradham and Byard a little bit of respect this morning, pay my respects, and see if I can get a little bit of luck. I just saw Sabrina Bingle at the at the convention center, and she's put me on the list to get in with the mayor, even though the mayor has already got me on. I'm going to be there. Here's the entrance that I'm going into, and just going to put this on pause and we'll take off where I left off. So here we are going into the cemetery. This is a really old cemetery. It started in the 1700s. And as you can see, many of the headstones are really old, lots of pinnacles. A lot of Civil War guys here. It's a very sublime cemetery. Gonna go down here and see Caleb Bradham. Here's the old fountain right there, which was dedicated for the Civil War vets. Another amazing thing about this cemetery is the old Spanish moss in the trees, which you see here. It's really quite interesting when you look at it from this angle. Back to the fountain. Here's the fountain. And on along. Ultimately where we're going is right down there on the right. Now we're coming up on Caleb's headstone here. This is his family plot. There's Caleb Bradham Jr., his son. Right next to him, Caleb Bradham, the inventor of Pepsi-Cola. And there is his headstone. Quite insignificant headstone for such a man who created such a global icon. Right next to him is his wife, Charity. And then right next to that is Julia Bradham. Right next to that, Josephine Bradham. And And when you pull back, you can see right there Caleb's headstone and a nice sweeping view. 360. And we'll end on Caleb here. Now I'm on the way to Bayard's, the Wooten plot. Wooten, Moulton, Morgan, Udy. Excuse me. One of the unique features about this old cemetery is the oyster shell pathways that they've put in here. And as you can see, this cemetery has quite a few large monuments, and that was just the norm for the day during the Civil War 150 years before. Symbol, of course, which you see quite a bit, is the Mason Cemetery symbol. Down here, you see a very interesting plot surrounded by a wonderful wrought iron gate, which I had made images of before. A family plot. And here is the monument erected for the fallen Confederate soldiers who fell in New Bern after Burnside had captured the city. This was erected over 100 years ago. As you can see, they still fly the flags. Turning around this way, we see many of the normal crypts of the day. And this particular crypt is the Custis Crypt. You may recognize that name as Mary Custis Lee, Robert E. Lee's wife. And this is Peter Barton Custis, MD, and Peter Custis, MD, father and son, both doctors. As we move on, we're in the older part of the cemetery now. Here's W.M. Gaston, an amazing crypt. And many of these crypts are very artistically designed. See the wonderful brick abodes that people are in. Any moment now we'll be approaching Bayard Wooten's headstone. Passing through a small section here. Excuse the lawnmowers. They're working this morning. But we're going to pass right through and come into the section for the Moultons, where Bayard is buried, which you can see straight ahead in the center frame. This is the Moulton plot. And right front and center, right here, is Bayard Wooten. Pioneer photographer, suffragette, and creator of the Pepsi-Cola logo, which this movie is based. Of course, Moulton being the family name, and Morgan on the other side. Here is Bayard's brother, George Moulton, aerial photographer, and the other half of Wooten Moulton Studio. Here is Bayard's brother's headstone, Sam Morgan, better known as Pecan. Sam planted many thousands of pecan trees and is responsible for much of the property that the family owns today. Here's the Weeping Arch, which features prominently in the script. They say that if the drips of water that collect in the stone hit you as you pass underneath it, you will be the next person carried in feet first. You see the interesting features of the arch. This is the historical placard that is in the cemetery, and on here you can see Caleb Bradham, the inventor of Pepsi-Cola, Bayard Wooten, the woman who designed the Pepsi logo, and many other historical figures in North Carolina's history. And then the Weeping Arch.